After an episode of Tactical Crouch, which is a podcast that features me, Yiska, and Kick Tripod of Overwatch League Daily fame, I was asked, or we kind of were asked a question, and I'm kind of leading the charge on answering it, about Paris. So the question was, so on Tactical Crouch, you guys didn't seem impressed at all by the rumored Paris lineup. So my question is, do you think there is a better EU lineup? If so, who would be on it? Now that's a very wide question, I would say, because there isn't a lot of limitations for me there. So there's kind of a couple different ways we can look at this. Is there a kind of full EU lineup that would be really powerful? And yeah, I do think there is. The issue with that is that most of the talent that I would want is already kind of signed to existing Overwatch League teams. Now, I won't assume what the question asker was thinking when he asked the question, so I'll kind of list off some of the names that I would love to see on this Paris team maybe in the future. So going into this metagame first, so kind of, a slight tangent, right? I think flex tanks and supports are going to be really, really important, and that's why I think Nevix is probably one of the kind of go-to buys. Now, because this is a Paris team, I could see Poco, because he is a French native. It makes sense. National pride and whatnot. Shaz, Big Goose, Neptuno, Unco, again, national pride. Super, super important to have a strong backline, and Unco with Dallas has proven to be a very important kind of keystone to that team. He's incredibly strong on Zenyatta, and he's kind of filling the role that Custa left the team in doing. If you remember when that trade happened, Custa was traded from Dallas to Valiant, and Unco went from Valiant to Dallas, seemingly to fill the same roles or to have the same roles within those teams. And it was under my assumption that Dallas actually got the lower end of that trade, but in reality they didn't. Oh, well, it's up for argument, right? But I think that Unco is still very talented and has a lot of mileage left on him. Some contenders players that I think would be really, really nice to see. I think Fusions from the British Hurricane. I think that he is a brilliant caller, and with a little bit more development, I think he could be a real leader for some of these teams, and could shape the future of that Overwatch League team. His main tank level is still, it's not bad, but we'll get into why I don't think that matters for a lot of these players, or for this team in particular, in the next kind of part of this video. But I would love to see Shax. I would love to see Davin. Again, two very, very talented contenders players. They're of age. Why not? Shax, I think, really jumped out at people at the World Cup, and I still want to see what else he can bring. So I think he would even, like, if you didn't want to sign him directly, I think he's a good takeaway for other people's contenders teams, and then maybe you bring him on as your own two-way player. Same thing with Davin. It was a tragedy that he didn't get signed with within the first season. Yeah, and he's very talented. He kind of shares a similar hero pool that Logix does. And there's an argument to be made there that maybe, it's better to go with the younger player rather than someone who is kind of a known quantity and perhaps is a little bit past their prime in a sense. I don't know that Logix is past his prime. I don't know that he's kind of capped out, but I would be a little bit more willing to look at Davin in that sense. Again, they share similar hero pools, but there's some potential with Davin that I think has yet to be unlocked with the right kind of coaching staff. Now, when I had mentioned fusions, I do think there are some intangibles when we rate Paris, right? So this is obviously the only kind of full European team to kind of represent an entire region, the same way that Shanghai did. But obviously there's some issues there with their match history and their record. But with Paris, it's a little bit different because players now, if things go well and they're marketed well, they're going to want to play for Paris. They're going to want to kind of support the people who gave them a chance. So now that Paris has a foothold, you're going to see talent development in that region kind of increase, because at least there's a team that they could like envision playing for, the same way that a lot of Korean players actually do want to play for Seoul, because A, it's representing their home country, and B, they're just a super popular team in their home country and abroad. So it's a catch-22, but positively, if that makes sense. How I kind of rate Paris, I look at them like a San Francisco Shock team. They're planning for the future. So like stage 1 San Francisco, you looked at the roster, you went, there's 2 players that are kind of key to this roster that can't even play yet. Again, I think they're planning for the future. They're planning on developing talent. They're kind of looking at the, if not making a playoff caliber team in season 2, looking for contention in season 3. But when you look at the players that they have signed or have rumored to have signed, unofficially, we've got Ben Best, RCK, LH Cloudy, Finzi, Nico, Danya, Soon, Shadowburn, Hip, Cruz, and at coach Damon and GM Mex, with potentially Vitality running the organization. This is found on Reddit r/competitive Overwatch. Go check that out if you want to hear all the juicy rumors. But again, I don't know, and I'm pretty positive in saying that I don't think that that's up to date. And those are all unconfirmed. So again, we're operating based on rumors, but we should be hearing some information come out about these teams, within the next couple months. But when you look at that team, I think there are a couple members that kind of stick out to me and kind of already are filling out a style. If what they, if we're going to kind of assume, right? Let's kind of speculate with the information that we have. So when I look at Ben Best, when I look at Nico, when I look at Soon, for instance, right? Now, Soon doesn't really fit this bill, but I'll explain. So with Ben Best and Nico, I think they are going to play a little bit more aggressive. If you look at specifically Nico's statistics, he tends to die a little bit more than other teams or other people in his role. So the D.Va and the Genji specifically. He tends to die a little bit more, but he finds a little bit more success with those dives, with those really, really aggressive plays. It's a balancing act there. And that's the same thing that happens with Ben Best. The positive with Ben Best is that obviously he's a French native, but he actually has that same aggressive style, but tends to die less. So he dies about the same as everybody else in his role. So his deaths per 10s, his percentage of team deaths are all around the same, but he actually has an increased percentage of his team's kills and kills per 10 minutes. So he's actually kind of having calculated aggression. Can he be a little bit over aggressive at times? Sure. Anybody, everybody can be. So I think they're going to kind of put those two together moving forward. At least I could see that being used or utilized. Now, Soon can be very objective focused, but that kind of means he plays he plays on his own a lot. I don't think he's a person that needs a ton of resources. He kind of makes his own space. He's very intelligent in kind of a spatially awareness kind of way, where he knows where people are and where they're not. And he can actually flank really, really successfully. And that's why you see him get a lot of backcaps where, he knows that his team is pushing up on Eichenwald, and he can cut through the back and actually, take some time on cart, maybe pressure the back line, pull a little bit of resources towards him from the enemy team. Well, he doesn't really, he's very self-sufficient in that sense, and he's got a very high in-game IQ to be able to pull those off consistently. Again, if you have any questions about that, just go back and look at some of Valiant's hybrid and payload maps. You always find Soon in the back line consistently, either pushing the cart or just having a light amount of pressure. He doesn't scream the old carry Soon that he was on Tracer, but he can kind of consistently be a threat in the back line while also not dying too often. He was very very solid in Overwatch League Season 1. But I think it kind of fits that same narrative where if Ben Best and Nico are going to be the kind of spearhead for this team, I think Soon now gets to free reign on whatever he wants, whether it's, Widowmaker, Sombra. Shoot, maybe he's got a Doomfist, who knows? But I do believe Danya actually has a Doomfist, and I was quite impressed with him on Poland. So I think that's a very smart pickup. Again, you look at some of these names, you look at, Hip, you look at Danya, you look at Finzi. Finzi, now, to be fair, he was on LA Valiant, but didn't really see much play time for whatever reason. And I keep getting this notion of talent development. Demon wants to work with these players that he's either worked with before, or has enough knowledge about them to see their potential. And with what he's done with Team France, we heard the rumors that Team France was coming into issues and scrims and whatnot, and he must have either used scrims correctly or he turned it around completely. So there's a lot of potential with this team. And I'll kind of quit rambling. I don't want to kick a dead horse, but the team itself is strong. Do I think they're world beaters just on paper? No, but that could be that could change very quickly. Just with a patch change that suits them, if they can rally together around Damon, if he can rally them. I think this team could actually be quite good. There's a lot of variance here, but I have to be realistic. I don't see them winning anything. But could I see them in playoffs, in a stage playoffs consistently? Sure, 100%. But I just don't see them pushing too far over the edge. But there again, that to me, that's not their plan. Their plan is to kind of develop for the future. Their plan is to kind of really be the bastion that Europe has been looking for, and kind of build a successful brand to represent Europe as a whole. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Somebody out in the Twitterverse. If you have any other questions, anybody out there on YouTube, Twitter, wherever you're finding this, Reddit, please, let me know. I love kind of thinking these through with you guys as I spit everywhere. But I'm going to go probably film some more videos. I don't know, maybe write a little bit. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and if you like this video, please like and subscribe and all that jazz. Until the next one, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you later.